Okay, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Suhail Ahmed. I have done my PhD in International Relations from the University of Peshawar in 2015. I joined ComSets the same year in September, and before that I have been teaching in different institutions. For example, Fazaiya Inter College Peshawar, I taught there in 2006 and 2008 as a lecturer of Pakistan Studies. I have got two masters, one is in international relations and the other is in political science, and I have worked in development sector as well. A few projects I have developed and then they were implemented in different parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I basically am from a district Mardan of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and spent most of my time in Peshawar. This is a brief introduction of myself. This is a multidisciplinary subject. It doesn't have a single discipline like you might find a taste of political science in it. Then at some point you might feel that this is purely related to geography. Then you might feel that this is economy, this is international relations, this is some sort of a cultural study. But everything related to Pakistan is basically in the domain. So that is why we call it an interdisciplinary subject, right? What are the aims of this course? You know, I have come across a lot of people who do not know anything about history, culture and geography of Pakistan. If you ask a person, a Pakistani person, that what is the Pakistani culture, he or she might be confused, he or she might not be telling you the right answer, because due to the media bombardment by Western countries and some of the regional actors, we are unfortunately getting detached from our culture, right? So that is why it is an important subject, that in order to understand about our own history, in order to understand about our own culture and geography of the country, that is why this subject is really important. It will make you Pakistani, right? First of all, we are human beings, then we are Muslims, but later on we are Pakistanis, and after Pakistanis we are either Punjabi, Pathan, Balochi, Urdu speaking, you know, whatever we are. And then there are castes different, and then after the tribes and the caste, then there is, you know, a family. So things narrow down. At a point it is only an individual, but that individual is somehow connected to some community, and we are Pakistani, so we are connected to Pakistani community, and we need to know this. We need to know this through our history, culture and geography. Basically it inculcates patriotism in the hearts of the students. You might have seen many people, when you talk to them about Pakistan, they would be Pakistani, they would be serving in the government institutions, they would be earning from Pakistan, from the economy of this country. But when you talk to them about Pakistan, they would be speaking negative about it, even the origin of it, right? So that thing, in order to counter that thing, patriotism is important, and that patriotism can come through education. So that is why this discipline is a compulsory discipline, and it is like from grade 1 till 14. It is there, and now it's like, you know, this is a BS program, so you need to go through it, right? And secondly, the national integration. This national integration is a really important aspect of Pakistan, right? If we trace the roots of most of our problems in Pakistan, current day problems, this is because that this sense of national integration is not there. If we try to create a society in which people care about each other, then this national integration is really important for that society, right? And that can come through the study of Pakistan studies or disciplines like that, right? So that will, this is another aim. Then what is happening in the region? What is, like, you know, this current affairs, right? Then what are the important pillars of the Pakistani political system? So if you see, Pakistan has an issue, for example, with India, and all of us know that what are those issues, or what is that particular issue with India. But what is happening about that issue in the current scenario, like for example the Kashmir issue, what is happening on that front, on diplomatic front, on political front, what is happening? That is the current affairs, right? We have some problems with Afghanistan. Recently, you might have heard that, you might have watched or seen it in the news, that Afghanistan is involved in sort of a blame game with Pakistan, right? So that is a current thing. Now we cannot ignore these things, right? We need to, in order to live in a society, we need to know what are the external and internal variables of that society. What are the factors which are impacting this society, our lives, right? Like for example, that Afghan issue has impacted the lives of the people living in the bordering areas with Afghanistan. The businesses were impacted. So we cannot remain aloof from these things. That is why it is really important. Now, what are important pillars of Pakistan's political system? We need to know about that. So, because these things ultimately affect the lives of the commoners, so, and we are commoners, right? So we cannot remain aloof, but we are educated commoners. So that is why we need to study it. When we grow up, when you people grow up, then you will be having a sense of belongingness to this country. Without it, you cannot create that sense in you. So that is why we study this discipline, right? And then, of course, to provide in-depth understanding of Pakistan, right? On economic front, on political front, on cultural and geographical fronts, we need to provide that in-depth understanding of Pakistan through this course. You can contact me. This is my email address. You can contact me if you need to contact me. You can write down this email. Make sure that you write this A, not E, right? Because then someone else will receive this email. In Ahmed, it is A.D. Ahmed, not E.D. Ahmed, right? So make sure about it. You can come to my office. It's on the 3rd floor in Biosciences, where the Humanities Department is there. On the third floor, room number 326. You can come there by appointment, and if I am available there, you can just come and see if I am there, so you can discuss your matter with me. And Ms. Mahwish Bakht will also be in your contact, right? Okay, what are the objectives? What do we want to achieve from it, from this course, right? You know, 16 weeks of conversation. I'll be speaking, you will be asking, you will be speaking, I'll be learning from you, because you are from diverse cultures within Pakistan. So I'll be learning even from you. We all will be learning. The objective is to acquaint students with the significance of this course as a compulsory subject, right? This is one of the objectives, this one. Then to familiarize students with the basic concept of Pakistan's ideology, because we do not know about ideology. We do not know much about the ideology of Pakistan. Even if I ask right now, some of you might give me quite confusing and interesting answers. So we do not know about normally, right? So this is another objective. Then to familiarize students with the movement and historical events that led to the creation of Pakistan. You just tell me one thing. What is the importance of a journey in life? Like for example, you are going to the United States of America from Pakistan. The destination is the United States of America, right? If you have got a time machine, imagine you are going for the first time, you have got an opportunity to travel there for the first time, and you have got a time machine just one click away from the United States of America, and you'll be there in seconds. Would you prefer that method, or would you prefer to travel by, you know, aeroplane at least, if not train or ship, right? Time machine. You are going for the first time. I'm amazed. Okay. Plane. One of the benefits of the plane is that at least you will see Doha, then you will see Heathrow Airport at least, if not the whole of London, and then you will reach, and in the process you will discuss the conditions in the United States of America with a lot of people on your way, right? Because you are going for the first time. So you will have this adventure of journey in your while heading towards your destination, right? That is the importance of journey. Basically, the journey is the main aim. It is as a result of that journey, it is the path which describes how to reach there. So if you go through a time machine, you will never know that where the United States of America is, right? But when you go through a normal route which people use, then you will come to know about, when you describe it to someone, you will tell them that, okay, this is the whole thing, you need to you need to go to a traveling agent, and then you need to buy the ticket of a plane. This plane takes this much time, this route takes this much time, and you know, so that is the importance of it. So that is kind of a short history of your travel. The destination is there, definitely, but the travel in itself is very important in order to make other people reach there, or in order to make people understand how did you reach there, right? So that is the history, the historical events. Pakistan did not come into being like, you know, with the help of a time machine. It was a long journey, and the journey of nations is normally comprised of decades, not years, right? So that was the journey of Muslim nation in India, and it took them a lot of time, and we need to understand it so that we can come to know about their hardships, and then after that we will be able to, you know, to have a sense of respect and sense of ownership for this country, right? That belongingness, this is another aim. I have already talked about it. Then to make students aware about their basic rights and responsibilities as citizens of the country, because this is a concept of political science. Yeah, do you want to ask something? Okay, this is a concept of political science. If I say that I need my rights, right? So who is supposed to give me my rights? The society, the government, like you are supposed to give me my rights. But in return, whatever my rights are, you also have the same rights. So I am supposed to give you your rights, right? So that is my responsibility. To give you your rights is my responsibility, and to take my rights, or that is your responsibility, because I am taking it from you. So if you are denying me my rights, you are basically not fulfilling your responsibilities. If I am denying you your rights, I am not fulfilling my responsibility as a citizen. So this is very important, that the rights and responsibilities, we need to understand about it, right? This is another aspect of one of the objectives of this course. Then to familiarize students with the current affairs and important pillars of Pakistan's foreign policy. Why we are having good relations with, for example, People's Republic of China, and why we do not have good relations with Afghanistan or India, or now Iran even. Why we do not have these good relations with them. So this is all related to the foreign policy and related to Pakistan. So that is why this is another objective of the course, right? Then what should be the methodology, or what is the methodology? Lectures, as I am talking to you people right now, this is one of the mode of teaching, right? One of the modes of teaching. Then presentations. You are supposed to prepare your presentations and related with some topics to Pakistan affairs, and then you will be presenting them over here. So that is another thing, that I'll be assigning some task to you to present about this topic or that topic, and then either in groups or in individual capacity you will come and you will present that thing. Then classroom discussions, right? I will really encourage you people to ask questions, and I know that all of you are, you know, quite responsible people, and you would not laugh at the questions of others, right? So that is what I expect, because no question is less important. Every question is important, right? Learning will not be limited to the combination of textbook readings, right? Students will be involved in activities of solving problems, attempting quizzes, projects and exams, etc., right? So it will not be like I'll recommend a book and you will go and then you will read that book in a week, 2 weeks or a month, and then you will come, and that's not, that is what you can do at home, you know. But the purpose is that to involve you in some sort of activity so that you learn more, right? So this is another teaching methodology I'll be using. What do we expect that we will achieve after 16 weeks of this, practice or rigorous practice, you might call it, to understand and describe the dynamics of history and modern day Pakistan, right? This is what we need to, we expect that at the end you would be able to understand it at least, right? Then to analyze the social, cultural and political variables of society. What are these variables? Why things are this way? Why they are not that way, right? So there are some factors working behind that, and that is what we call variables. So to understand that thing, then to take best decision in political, cultural and multi-ethnic context. Informed decision is what I mean by it, right? When you are informed and then you take a decision, that is a good decision because you have considered all the facts behind that decision, right? That decision was not just taken on the spur of the moment, but you had some knowledge and then you took that decision. Then to take, then to critically review the history of Pakistan and the subcontinent. This is another thing. We are normally limited to one kind of narrative, so that should not be the case. We should also look into the perspective of other person and then either accept or refute that perspective, but at least we should be knowing that what is that alternative narration or narrative about that thing, right? I have complete faith on my students. This is my philosophy because as I have already told you that I even learn from my students. Not even, most of the times I learn from my students because you are from different cultures. If I am talking about Kashmir, some cultural issues in Kashmir for example, and you are from Kashmir, so then you can tell me, you can correct me if I am wrong because I am not from Kashmir, I do not know about that, right? I might be just generalizing things about that specific issue, but then, so that is why we learn from our students as well, right? So your views are really important and I have complete faith in you that you will be honestly participating in this class so that you learn, and at the end we all, sitting over here and standing over here, we all learn, right? What is the scheme of assessment? How would you be assessed at the end of this semester? So there would be 4 quizzes, right? You can see it here. 4 quizzes, 15% weightage will be given to these 4 quizzes and they will be distributed. You are in second semester, so you know the frequency of the quizzes and the timings of the quizzes. So 15% would be given to that. Then 3 assignments and 1 project, 10% weightage would be given to that. Then midterm examination and final examination 50%. So this is 100 marks at the end of the semester. Requirements and expectations. Attendance is mandatory. You need to be here in the classroom, right? This is the topmost requirement of this course. Then because this is updated on the CU online, as you all know, so that is why if your attendance is missed, then at the end of the semester you might get in trouble because your roll number slip would not be issued, right? Then this material, whatever you require, would be, or suggested readings would be given to you, or this material will be uploaded on the course website, or if you have got a closed group for your classroom, or if you do not have that group and you want to make a closed group, then you just make a group and that material will be uploaded to that group by either Ms. Mahwish or myself, right? So materials will also be provided in hard copy if some of you need that. For example, if I am asking you to read that particular chapter of that particular book, then I would provide that book and that chapter and you can photocopy that material and read it at home, right? What is the ideology of Pakistan? There are, in order to understand a concept, we need to define that particular concept, right? Because with the help of different definitions, we can, encompass the whole concept. So what is an ideology? Or there are different definitions given by different people about the ideology. So first of all, it is the science of ideas, visionary speculations, manners of thinking, characteristic of a class or individual ideas on the basis of some economic, social, political theory or system. Basically, this is what we call an ideology. Yes, we are Pakistanis. Our ideology is based on Islam. But basically, there are people in this world whose ideologies are not based on Islam. Their ideologies have been driven from some other source or some other sources. So it is your thinking, how you think about a particular thing. Like if we say Pakistan and it comes into our mind that it is an Islamic country, Pakistan was an Islamic country, or it is an Islamic country, it came into being in the name of Islam, that is related to Pakistan. But then this is ideology as well. Now tell me, what is the ideology of the people of Russia? What is the ideology of the people of India? What is the ideology of the people of the United States of America? All have got different ideologies and they have got different roots, right? At times you might see their roots in economics or social or political, right? So they have got different roots according to this definition. So every person or every nation has got some ideology, but the foundation or the roots of that ideology, they are different from that of us, right? Second definition about it is the body of ideas concerning economic, social, political values with positive action program for attaining these goals. Without a positive action program, you know this one, you cannot call something an ideology. That might be a good thought, but that might not be an ideology, because ideology takes you somewhere. It shows you a path to reach there, you know. So that positive program, that is a positive action program, that is another important aspect of ideology. When we talk about it, if that is an ideology, it just says, like for example, Plato. Plato had an ideology which you might have heard the name of Plato. He just coined or proposed a city-state which population would be not more than 540, you know, something like that. So that was an idea. It was not implementable. Then he had a philosopher king's philosophy, that there should be a philosopher king. But that he had a plan for it, but nobody implemented it. That was just utopia. So that thing is, you know, when you have a positive practical program for it in order to attain that goal, then that is an ideology. When that thing is not here, you are proposing it and then you are showing the path how to reach there. And then people start struggling for it. So that becomes an ideology, right? Then it constitutes a system of human life, including theories, objectives, and assertion of life. So, you know, human life, how this life should be run. We are spending our lives normally according to the, like, you know, to the teachings of Islam. So this is a kind of indoctrination, you might call it, influenced by the ideology, but this has got some influence on us, right? So it is a system of life. Normally ideology tells you about the system of life, how you should live, how you should spend your time in this world. So this is another definition. Then individuals should ideally share common ideology in a society. For example, if somebody comes over here and that person says that, okay, I do not accept anything related to the Pakistan, to the ideology of Pakistan, and I'm not happy with it. Either I'm happy with Afghanistan, or I'm happy with India or Iran or China, and he is just, or she is just refuting all of our basic ideas about this country, then that person might be physically living over here, but ideologically he is not connected to us, or we are not connected to him, right? So there should be some common ideology for people to live in one place, right? Because that will create harmony. Otherwise this harmony will not be there and there will be chaos, right? Then this is a very good definition. I very much agree with this one, that an ideology offers an interpretation of the past, an explanation of the present, and a vision of the future. It tells you where you came from, where you are right now and where you're supposed to reach afterwards. So this is an ideology, right? So if you are being told something about your past, like for example we say that okay, the Holy Prophet ﷺ did this, he asked us to spend our lives according to this code of life, or so we are basically tracing our history and we are connecting ourselves with that particular movement which was called the movement of Islam, or in Hijaz, right? We are connected with that. At the same time, there are people in the world who do not connect to that thing. So they are detached from the past which we think we are attached to, right? So that past, knowing about the past is really important. If I ask you who are you and you tell me I am, for example, I am Yusuf Zai, I am Sadhu Zai, there are a lot of tribes, you know, I am Rajput, I am Chaudhry. You are connecting yourself to something in the past, and then you are relating it with your current, and then you will be telling you that okay, our forefather used to do this, so I am not supposed to do that way, I am supposed to follow them. So you are even, you know, the past is directing you towards your future as well. That is very important. I think that's very important. Okay, when does the ideology emerge, or when do ideologies emerge? You know, like when they feel that they are being mistreated under an existing, this is visible now, I think this is visible as well, but when they feel that they are being mistreated under an existing order or under the status quo, then they try to change the status quo. They try to revolt against it, they try to, you know, preach against it and preach in favor of something, and then they, first of all, they create an environment that struggle might be of many decades, when they convince all the people to, you know, follow them. So then later on they can, you know, form a strategy to how to, you know, emancipate themselves from that particular order which they do not like, right? Secondly, it emerges like their status is threatened by fundamental changes occurring in a society. Now, how do you think that how can you relate this with the ideology of Pakistan, this fundamental changes occurring in a society? What fundamental changes did occur in the subcontinent that convinced the Muslims that we should form a separate homeland? There were some fundamental political changes which occurred in the subcontinent. First of all, the Muslims, they came as invaders, as conqueror to the subcontinent, Muhammad bin Qasim, right? They invaded and then they established their order. Then there was the Delhi Sultanate, right? And then there was the Mughal Empire. There was the Mughal Empire. And in the Mughal Empire, the Britishers or the British came in the shape of East India Company. When they came and they subdued the Muslims in the subcontinent, so what happened? The status of the Muslim was all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but you know, it was drastically changed from being a ruler to a subdued nation. They were not used to it in the subcontinent. They were ruling the subcontinent and now they are under the rule of someone else. What happened? I'm just describing this fundamental change, right? What happened in the process is that the Hindus who were ruled by the Muslims, they found an opportunity to be on equal grounds with the Muslim, right? So they came close to the to those who had invaded India or who had, you know, ousted Muslims from power. That was the British Raj. So they came close to them in order to be in the corridors of power. And the British government or the British India government, they did not feel threatened by Hindus. They were threatened by the Muslims. They were feeling threatened by the Muslims because they thought that okay, they have lost authority, now they will try to gain that authority back. So this is the community which we need to keep under check. So that is why the Muslims were under checked. They were there under their eyes, and they were being checked thoroughly, and the Hindus were given leverage over the Muslims. That was the fundamental change which was occurring in the society. And then the War of Independence, 1857, the whole blame was put on the Muslims in that war. And then the Muslims were, the British government, then they tried to suppress the Muslims in order to make lives quite difficult for them and to crush that rebellion. So Sir Syed Ahmad Khan played a role. We will come to that in a later stage, but now just briefly, he played a role. He just impressed upon the British and impressed upon the Muslims that he told the British that the Muslims are not the sole responsible for this revolt of 1857. On the other hand, he told the British that, okay, if your policies also played a negative role in that area, and which compelled some of the Muslims to join the ranks of the people who were rebelling against you, right? So that fundamental change was occurring. Then the Indian National Congress was established in 1885, and though it was a representative of the whole India, all of the people of India, but it represented the interest, or it protected the interest of Hindus, not all of the Indians, right? That was another change which was occurring in the society. Then the Muslims, by that time the Muslims had gained enough, education through the efforts of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, that they were, just becoming politically aware and trying to not be apolitical but political, right? Then Pakistan Muslim League came into being. Efforts were being made to for kind of to create a homogeneous environment in which the Hindus and the Muslims can coexist, but those efforts failed. As you all know, that the Lucknow Pact, it was very important, 1916, it was very important, it is an important milestone in the efforts for Hindu-Muslim unity, but it did not work. Up till Khilafat movement it worked, but at the end of the Khilafat movement the Hindus part ways with the Muslims. Then the Simon Commission came, and the constitutional wrangling was there, and in that constitutional wrangling the Simon Commission main point was that the Hindus and Muslims cannot come together. They cannot even agree on one point. They do not have this capacity. So the Muslims and the Hindus took it as a challenge, and they say, why can't we do it? We can do it, right? So then Nehru draft his proposal, his points, or his, which we normally call the Nehru report, that this is the constitution, India can agree upon it. Quaid-e-Azam just gave his 14 points at that particular point. Now it is very important to know why the number of 14 is important. If you are aware about the international relations in 1919, when the First World War came to an end, there were 14 points of Woodrow Wilson, the American president. That were the points for truce in the First World War. So that was just 10 years ago, the 1929, right? 14 points of Jinnah. So when he drafted his basic tenets of a constitution for future in India, or future constitution in India, he just drafted them in 14, so that when it will make to the headlines in the newspapers, people will just read it thoroughly, because 14 points were quite famous at the end of the First World War. So that was another, I would say, a master stroke by Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, that he did it like that. So that was the change which was occurring, the fundamental change was occurring in the society. Then another change, which was the 1937 election, 37 to 39 Congress rule. It was another thing in which the Muslims of the subcontinent experienced that how would life be if they ever remain under Hindu rule in the democratic India, united democratic India, because Hindus were in the majority and the Muslims were in the minority. So that would be their fate, which was in the Congress, during the Congress ministry. That was another change. So they were feeling threatened. Change was occurring, which convinced them to demand for a separate homeland. This was a long historical process. It convinced them to demand for a separate homeland. Otherwise, without these fundamental changes, the Muslim might not have asked for it, right? They might have opted to live in a united India. And again, this ideology, whatever that ideology at that time was, which was the Western democracy, they were proposing about the Western democracy that there should be the rule of the majority. So that was not satisfying them, the Muslims. That is why they did not prefer to live in India. They rather preferred to ask for an independent state for themselves where they can live easily, right? Now, these are the basics of the ideology of Pakistan. You know this one, ideals of the Islamic system should be implemented in a state, whatever they were asking for, that the ideals for the independent state would have been, they should be, you know, Islamic system should be implemented in that particular state, and that was not possible in India, in united India. So they were asking for it. Then I have already talked about this one, that the Hindu and British exploitation of the Muslims of the subcontinent, it was a reaction to that exploitation which was there in the united India under the British Raj. So it again convinced them to have their own separate homeland where that exploitation is no more there. Then a revolt against the prevailing system in order to save it from annihilation. Because it would have been a complete destruction of the Muslim way of life had they remained there in the united India. This is what they perceived at that time. So they just thought that it is better for us to leave this place or to have a separate country where we can rule our lives according to our wishes, according to our religion, right? And then another very important concept, which is known as the Muslim nationalism. Now, basically, nationalism is a very difficult concept to understand. In order to understand it, you need to taste it. You know, there are a lot of things which we cannot describe, but we can just, you know, feel it. So nationalism, some people call it a feeling. It is not something concrete which you can define in one paragraph, one book, or, you know, a few books, a few volumes. You cannot do that. Because nationalism is, that is the sense of belongingness, right? That is right. For example, there is a very good example of it. If you tell an old, a blind person to, you know, to eat for example, an egg, right? And the blind person would ask you, what is an egg? You would tell him that it is a round shape, it is white. Okay, the blind person would tell you, what is white? You just tell him that it is like a duck. Duck is white. The blind person asks you, what is a duck? And you tell him that you just see my hand, the neck of a duck is like this. And then he replies, oh, but it can stuck in my throat when I eat it. You know, because you have asked him to eat the egg, but now you are defining it. So he can tell you that it can stuck in my, somehow it can be difficult for me to devour it, you know. So that is the thing, that first of all you need to feel something. Without feeling, you cannot define it. So nationalism is the same kind of a thing, that in order to practice it, in order to have it, you need to feel it, and then you can find words for it. So it's a very difficult concept. It is not easy to define in short classrooms and in short passages, but we will try to understand it. We will definitely, during this week, we will try to understand it, because the movement of Pakistan was based on two-nation theory. Now nation, what is nation and what is nationalism? Nationalism comes from nation. So in order to proceed further with the two-nation theory, we need to understand nationalism. You know, it is basically a European concept. The concept of nationalism is European in nature. It is not indigenous for us, right? But in short, if you are trying to understand it, just understand that, you know, it is a consciousness, it is a sentiment or a sympathy which binds a group of people together. Consciously, you think that you are part of that nation. You have got some sympathies with them. Why we people are nowadays saying that there are a lot of atrocities being committed in Myanmar against the Rohingya Muslims? Why do we say it like this now? Why? They have something in common with us. That is religion. We are Pakistani nation, but above that, we are part of the larger Muslim nation in the world. So that is connecting. This sympathy, the sentiment of sympathy is there, right, in us for them. And then those people who are not their brothers in faith, but they are even condemning the atrocities of the government of Myanmar. So why they are doing it? Because they might, this is what I perceive, they might think that, you know, this is a kind of their fellow human beings are being, you know, mistreated, and they should raise their voices for them. So they are thinking that they are part of the same community, or the common group feeling is there. Again, you know, like our own species is being mistreated in this way. You know, humanity is being mistreated. So that brings people together. This nationalism is like this, that it brings people together like this. It is a consciousness, right? Okay, or this is the desire of a group of individuals who are already united by certain ties to live together and if necessary to die together, right? This is what we call nationalism. Why people in the First and the Second World War fought, and they fought till their death. Why did they do it? Some were fighting for France, some were fighting for Germany, some were fighting for Great Britain, but why they were doing it? They had a desire, right, that they should live together because there are certain ties between them, and if necessary to die together, right? So most of them, some of the civilians as well, but most of the soldiers, they died together. They just did not care about their lives, but that was nationalism in them, which compelled them to either live together, or if not possible, then die together to protect your identity, to protect your nation, right? So this is nationalism. Now tell me, this nationalism is a very powerful concept. How many of you can die for your faith, to protect your faith? How many of you are ready to die to protect your faith? If there is, for example, an Indian attack and they are asking all of us to, you know, to convert to. So how many of you? She's just raising hand. She's not asking the question. Okay. And how many of you are ready to die when there is just reason? For example, just for a reason, not for your faith. That is your faith. You can die for your faith. Nationalism is a faith, right? But then if I am arguing with you on some issue, if you are arguing with me on some issue, we might agree to disagree, right? But we would not go to die for it. This is just simple reason, right? Simple reasoning is there, and your opinion is different than mine, and we are okay with it, right? With this difference. Either you would be convinced by me or I would be convinced by you. In both cases we are okay. This is just a normal discussion. But when it comes to religion, when it comes to faith, if you ask, for example, a Pakistani not to die for Pakistan, you know, and just do something against the interest of the country, if that person is a patriotic person, he would die for it, but he would not do it for any reason. But if you ask the same question if you ask the same person a different question, that okay, I have got this reason, that for example, talk about cricket, talk about some other issue which is not related to faith, that is just a matter of reason, right, or logic. You talk about that, and that the person will not be, you know, on war footing with you. He will accept that difference. So this is a powerful thing. Nationalism can make someone die because it is related to faith. a French person would never change his nationality, he would die for his country, right? But when it comes to some other issues like the cultural harmony and this and that, he would say, okay, fine, I'm right, this is a European culture and I'm okay with it. But on the other hand, if his country is threatened, he would go and he would fight with the same German with whom he was already on the common grounds that, okay, we are the same Europeans and we should do this and that. So this is nationalism, right? Then the wish, or it is the wish of the people who feel that they are one to go on as living as like one, right? So they, for example, they are one. If someone is threatening their unity or their oneness, then they would find with that particular power, but they would try to go on living as one, right? They would try to protect their way of life. This is nationalism, right? Their own way of life in that particular country, they would try to protect it, and they would try to live together, and if that aspect is being threatened, then nationalism can create havoc in the world. And we have seen it in the early 20th century in the shape of First World War and in Second World War. That was purely the outcome of narrow nationalism. The First World War and the Second World War, that was the outcome of narrow nationalism, right? Now they have realized and they have, raised above that thing. They have raised themselves above that thing, that narrow nationalism. So narrow nationalism is not good, but nationalism in itself is not bad. It is paving the way for the creation of a good society, because people will live in harmony when they consider themselves as part of one nation, right? Okay. Now, another historical fact, that during the medieval times, group of students from one country studying in any or one European university was called nation. For example, you are a group of Pakistani students studying in some European university, or Indian students studying in some European university in the medieval times, and all of the Indian students studying in that particular university would be called as Indian nation. That was a group of students, right? Nationalism came from that kind of, these kind of notions. So modern nationalism is made up of basically 13 conditions or 13 beliefs. Now tell me, if you want to proceed with these 13 beliefs right now, we can go with it right now. And if you want to, okay. Now just, as I have explained many concepts, many different concepts, difficult concepts in this class. One was the concept of ideology. That is again a very difficult concept. It is not that simple as we took it in this class. I tried to simplify it, but if you study this ideology in depth, then you would find that it's a very difficult concept, right? So now tell me, how would you define an economic ideology? What is the economic ideology? When we talked about ideology, what is an economic ideology? Because our ideology is based on religion, but there are nations in the world whose ideologies are based on economies, or their ideologies have got its roots or their roots in the economic systems. So what is an economic ideology?
Money will bring happiness. The basic ideology of economic countries.
Can you name one ideology, one famous ideology in the world, which was
capitalism?
Okay, and one, just name another famous. Capitalism is, yes, right, but there was a very famous ideology which came into being in the later 19th century, in the mid of 19th century. It prevailed till the end of the 20th century, and then it vanished. Can anybody tell me, okay, how many of you have heard the name of Karl Marx? Marxism, yes, that's right. And which country came into being as a result of the ideology of Marxism?
Germany.
No, it was Soviet Union, right? It was Soviet Union. That was an economic ideology. Their ideology was that there should be economic equality, and the working class should be the...
It was also about
Socialism. Socialism, yes, fine. That is fine. There are different names for it, but that is socialism. So that was economic ideology. You know, people just bought that thing from him, they just were convinced, and then they tried to implement that ideology in the world, and finally, though he had predicted that it would there would be a revolt in the industrial world, and that Russia was an agrarian society, that revolt came in an agrarian society, but it was highly influenced or purely influenced by the ideals or the ideas of Karl Marx. So that was another ideology in the world. Capitalism is another ideology, yes. Islam is another ideology. Every ideology traces something in the history, and then, you know, they connect it, and then they, but the common thing in almost all ideologies is that they think that when people follow it, they will be happy. There will be prosperity in the world, right? Harmony in the world. So that is the concept of ideology. It's quite difficult, but I think you people have got the basics of it. Whatever the basic is required, you have got it. Then that ideology created a sense of oneness, or the Islamic ideology created a sense of oneness in the Muslims of the Indian subcontinent, right? So that Islamic ideology created the sense of oneness, but when you create this sense of oneness, you are basically separating yourself from another community. So this oneness of Muslims created the sense of nationalism in them. That nationalism led to the two-nation theory. Now if we, because we will be explaining this nationalism in the next class in detail, but if the two-nation theory and nationalism, if you relate that in the context of subcontinent India, or the Indian subcontinent, the two-nation theory, you might call it that the proponent of the two-nation theory was, you know, as Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah says, that Pakistan came into being when the first Muslim came to India, or the first Hindu was converted to Islam, something like that, you know. So because that Muslim or Muslimhood in India showed them another way, and the whole India was going towards some other destination. That is in the Indian subcontinent context. But then this two-nation theory, if you raise above it, how do you, where do you feel that the roots of the two-nation theory are existing beyond the context of India? Where is that two-nation theory? As Muslims are separate from the non-Muslims. This is basically simple two-nation theory. Right? In Indian subcontinent context, we can call that Indian Muslims are separate from Hindus, right? But on the higher level, where is that two-nation theory? What is the origin of two-nation theory? Okay, think hard about it. I will ask you in the next class, come up with a reasonable answer about the basic, the genuine, or the original point, or the point of origin of the two-nation theory. When did humanity start feeling that this group is different from us? When did people in, you know, in the world start feeling like that? That is the origin, right? I am giving you a clue. Just search about it. What is the origin of the two-nation theory? Because two-nation theory says that Muslims are different from Hindus in the subcontinent context. In the Muslim context, okay, Muslims who followed the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ are different from the rest of the world. But then trace back, right? Go back. Because that divided humanity, that faith has actually divided humanity. There were people who were following, there were people who were not following. So what is the point of origin, right? If your definition of nationalism is flexible, right? If it incorporates most of the people, then you have got a good sense of nationalism in you, right? But if you define it in a very narrow term, and you say that, okay, for example, what is your caste?
Sayyid.
Sayyid, right? If you say that only Sayyids should be there in this nation, and any other person, no matter how good that person is not allowed to be part of this community, and if he comes, I'll kill that person, or the Sayyids community will kill it, you know, then this definition of nationalism is definitely bad. But if you say that Sayyids, I am a Sayyid, but regardless of the fact that I am a Sayyid, I try to create I try to reach out to other groups as well, and talk with them in a democratic manner, and then draw some parameters for it, so the interest of everybody would be taken care of in that definition, and then there would be no problem in it. So it all depends on you. If you think that nationalism is bad, definitely your definition of nationalism, you are thinking it in your terms, and your definition of nationalism is not good. That is why you think like that. But if you define it in a broader way, in a democratic way, then I think that nationalism is not bad. It is our understanding which makes it bad or good, right? Perception, right? So thank you very much. I think we are done with today's class. Think about that point which I have told you, right?